going to be the mental counterplay. We start off on Tidehunters. In the top left, in the red, the German Rekordmeister is XlorD.
The mouse. His opponent in the yellow playing human from South Korea. It is Chaemiko.
Quite fashionable. Those glasses, like those fully see-through, clear rims. Chaemiko, man, I don't know if he's listening to fashion podcasts. I could see it. Maybe I can learn a thing or two from him. You saw me at ESL Meisterschaft, the shirt I was wearing. You know, I need some advice.
You're the one that should be giving advice. Hitting all the thrift shops and buying like some random themed dress shirts. That's between Hawaiian and you attending an anime con or something.
I was considering wearing that here, but then I thought, nah, you know.
Please do.
Like, that would have been too much peacocking.
We can do some betting later. I brought the Jester costume, so if a human makes the grand finals, you already know what's happening.
Oh, is this the time to make this statement? All right. If the human reaches the grand final, you're going to wear the Jester costume?
Yeah.
All right. I'm busting out the Hawaii shirt in that case.
I would have said the entire day, but I actually gets really warm today, so it would actually bother me quite a bit. But for the finals, I would wear it for sure.
Well, you know, they keep things nice and cool here in Sweden, so maybe this would be a good benefit.
Nah, it's still too much. Like one day, come on. XlorD went for a Death Knight here on Tidehunters, which is usually a map where I think he would favor Cryptlord a lot of the time. So maybe a bit of a mind game, or maybe, you know, like we talked about, he's been practicing quite a bit of Death Knights. He's been beating a number of humans on ladder, and he's done pretty well with it. That perhaps gave him some new confidence to use that hero really well.
Yeah.
But you talked about the early game that Chaemiko just had against Happy. His early game is really good, technically. So if he's able to get there here against XlorD, perhaps he won't play mass tanks and save 3k gold this time, Remo.
You know, XlorD has lost to tanks before, but so far looking so standard, so good. Chaemiko, how he got off to such a good start against Happy was he put a lot of damage on the DK with the Scout Footy, harassing at the first creep camp right away. He didn't do that here, and the reason we go into so much detail is because it really matters. Every single movement, every bit of damage that's going to be dealt here is going to be relevant for the early game. And the HP on the Death Knight is going to be a big determining factor in how aggressive you can be because of Chaemiko. Of course, Chaemiko is going to expand here right away, and XlorD is going to try to take out as many of the peasants as he can. Item drops so far, really not the best for either. Double gloves between the two and ring and circles.
It's very decent for Chaemiko, better than the rings, I can tell you that much. And then he can buy some more in a second, which I think XlorD's gonna make sure he gets first. What's there? Ooh, claws and circlets. It's not even about having it yourself, it's more so about making sure the opponent doesn't get it at this point. But it's of course a plus that his DK is gonna hit for +5.
They use a lot of mana to creep. In fact, all of the coils were expended, so these peasants can just be right-clicked by the skellies, trying to save them into the back. The tower positioning and base build here, perhaps not completely perfect. I feel like I've seen that a little bit better before, but still trying to bounce these peasants around as much as he can. Also go for the denies. Got 2 of them. 3 peasants go down here, but only 1 gives experience.
Yeah, very important to deny that. Like if Death Knight gets level 3 quickly, then it makes it so much easier for XlorD to push, especially if it's around the time the Lich comes out, because then you can ferry over 1 or 2 mana potions, and that's when the Archmage and Footman are gonna have a terrible time just getting nuked into oblivion. He's threatening the surround on the Fiend, which XlorD's gonna use to go back around on the right side, but he has no more Road of Necromancy. I'm actually surprised he's hanging around here. He's kind of supposed to go home and buy a new one, because he never went for backpack.
And here on Tidehunters, compared to our other maps, Northern Isles and Concealed, this is normally what the early game looks like. This is usually a pretty playable early for the human as far as expanding goes, especially compared to Concealed, where you're going to take a lot more damage from the creeps and from the harass and all that. So again, Chaemiko not losing too much. 3 peasants, that's manageable. DK low HP, low mana, not too much experience. Archmage, good inventory. And if he's about to get level 3 here, he can think about being aggressive himself.
Yeah, it's going to be so easy for Chaemiko to get level 3 here, actually. You can just get that turtle here, hope for some extra damage as well. What is he going to pick up? He's a big fan of the staff, so he actually buys the Staff of Teleportation, and he's already running across the map, knowing that if right now a couple units were to show up at his expo, he could actually staff back and help and defend with the Archmage. He dropped a mantle in the center, wow. If he picks that up down the line here, that's going to be some extra damage and mana as well to work with. And he's preventing... the human's the one preventing the undead from creeping and leveling up, Remo.
The world has turned on its head. Soon, we're going to slide off to the side. That doesn't make sense. Anyways, moving on. Lich going to come out in a moment. What Chaemiko also really likes to do is buy time with the Archmage, keep the Fiend army busy, and send footies to the other side of the main. So when the undead leaves his side of the map to be aggressive, then the footies can flood the main, try to kill acolytes, and buy more time for himself. This is something that Chaemiko has really realized well, when to go in with a footman and when not to. When to fall back and not throw them away needlessly.
Look at this lumber mill positioning. I always wonder why Chaemiko does this in the main base here, behind the altar. Maybe he wants to save space under the tunnel and on the right-hand side of that lumber mill to make like workshops down the line. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be double racks, double workshop, which is the standard here in this matchup.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Could also perhaps be to still have a wall off at the altar falls, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be open then. Perhaps it's going to be revealed to us later on. Chaemiko very cautious with the footies. Really doesn't want to overextend. He knows the Lich is coming any moment. And Nova plus right clicks, these footies will fall, especially before defend is finished. It's coming up now, but it's still going to take a few more seconds.
He's not even towering up the Expo. I feel like by now Hawk would have like 4 guard towers, you know, like morphing and stuff. Because he's really paranoid about the attacks. Big chunk of experience that can be grabbed here from this Water Elemental. Yeah, Death Knight gonna get closer to level 3. It's 2.8 now.
And this is the move I love by Chaemiko. He sends the footies off to the side, ready for the counterattack. XlorD is aware of this. He started the replays against Happy, where something similar happened. He has to fall back. He has to be ready for these footies. He just can't be too aggressive right now. And there we go. Footies see the DK, and he's just threatening. He's just falling back and forth. He's buying so much time, getting so much value out of the footies without losing hardly any. Now he commits in. But what he can do now as well is use the staff, join in with the Archmage, and then perhaps even TP out to save them.
Yeah, but the Archmage actually, he's taking damage from skeletons. So he's gonna staff in with 370 hit points. This could be dangerous. He could just nuke this Archmage and force it to Town Portal. XlorD should not be losing Acolytes if he pulls them back on time, but he's being a little bit greedy here, mining in front of that human army. And his wall of actually placed against him right now. The trees on the left-hand side wouldn't allow XlorD to actually go in. Archmage moves towards the back. He's going to be forced to Town Portal out. So XlorD's patience is going to pay off.
Yeah.
He actually didn't lose that much mining time. I mean, yes, he was annoying to deal with for a second, but now that there is no Town Portal on Chaemiko, he also has to heal up.
Slight mistakes there by XlorD, like tiny little details. He was focusing on keeping the Acolytes alive, so the statue was in the wrong position, was blocking the Fiends to be in range to attack. And also, one Ziggurat blocked the way because it was touching the Necropolis, the base build also. Slight mistake there by XlorD. Those are tiny little details that can cost you, that can buy more time for the human, as cast attack has now started. And once he gets to Knights, then things will be looking much better soon for Chaemiko.
And let's see if those Water Elementals here can slow down a little bit of the creeping. Staff of Teleportation is one of the shorter cooldowns. We see here at the bottom of the Archmage, 22 seconds away from being back up. So he's actually sending the Footman back in a little early. That's just to delay the push here. He's not really expecting to be able to kill much. He just wants to make sure that his expansion is not being pushed right now because he's not really towered up yet, which allowed Chaemiko to have enough lumber to start tier 3 very quickly, but that's... Wait, he never made the Mount Tanking. He completely forgot Mount Tanking. What is going on with this?
Oh, that's definitely a bit painful. A few more Stormbolts in this mix could lead to a couple of kills, especially on the Acolyte.
The castle is midway through done, and he still doesn't have Mount Tanking started.
He's got the lumber, he's got the gold. Indeed, this is quite weird. Right now, focused though on dealing a bit of damage here and mostly buying time. It's all been about buying time for Chaemiko ever since this Archmage got level 3.
Oh my god. That was, what, 5-6 hit points? He's actually going to be able to get out. And I think he might realize, okay, now he's like, oh, I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah, you're Mount Tanking, bro. Maybe he tried to start it at some point, but didn't have the lumber yet. When he reached tier 2, he teched to castle. He had 1 lumber left behind. Oh. So obviously, castle is always the priority, but then you need to make sure that when you have your next 100 lumber, you start the Mount Tanking. XlorD actually goes for a Pit Lord, which hints that he wants to do a big push. And he's headed straight towards the main base.
Oh, the Archmage! If he gets Nova!
Oh my god.
Oh, he wasn't looking! He has to deny the Archmage! No, Chaemiko! A game that has been going so well for so long. First hero now goes down, and that's a big problem. It was, of course, a sweet deny there as well.
He has to rebuy in center. And I was going to say the main base is usually the less protected base. And now because he forgot the Mount Tanking, that's late. It's actually gonna come out like born into battle here, maybe inside of this army. That would be pretty bad. Which side does the Mountain King come out of?
Top left, maybe? Yep, run.
He's like, run!
Take the ball and run, bro. Paladin gonna take quite some more time. And of course, if the peasants come to repair, then they're gonna get Rain of Fire and maybe Novad. So perhaps this altar should be remade at the expansion. We don't see that yet. We do see Knights starting. That's a lot of AoE against the peasants.
And this is the perfect timing here by XlorD, because you see like the Paladin's not finished. He's forcing peasants to come and repair. He's slaying them all. And now he's gonna force footmen to engage. The Archmage, because he died, wasn't able to pick up a staff or an orb. This is a terrible fight. He has just a couple footmen and the Mountain King level 1.
Ooh, who almost got surrounded. Had that happened, he certainly would have died. But enough time was bought for the Pally. He's gonna jump out and try to run away to save himself.
The Pally is also gonna be born into battle here.
Top left rally point. And run.
He was fast, actually. He was incredibly fast. Because when a hero comes out like this, it's on attack move, like wherever you rally it. So it would attack immediately, but he was very quick to select it. Move that out of the way. Chaemiko needs to pick up Orb and Staff of Sanctuary here, and then try and fight with 2 knights. But I think he feels like he doesn't have the time. So even though he doesn't have that, he's got a couple knights, he's got a couple flying machines to deal with destroyers. XlorD using the human base wall to work in his favor, and he's gonna get the Paladin.
Takes out the Pally. And look at that pit lord positioning, blocking the way right now. How the hell is Chaemiko gonna get in here? Seems like he's not. If he had a lot of peasants, call to arms could be really strong, but those peasants were killed before. Look around that altar. It's a corpse overload. It's like human sacrifices have been performed to allow for these heroes to come out. And the next Paladin revive might not work out. The right click's coming through. And XlorD, with the imperfect early game for sure, finds his way back in the late game.
Man, the Gogonash pit lords. The Club Bouncer, sorry, not gonna be possible tonight. You're not getting it. And Chaemiko loses on Tidehunter here against an XlorD who played standard, no Criplord this time.
Yeah, good comeback there by XlorD. Chaemiko had a solid early game, but then that Archmage TPing out perhaps a bit too late. MK also was very late right there. All came down to the lumber being a bit of an issue. You mentioned it. Tier 2 was reached. He goes Tier 3, has no lumber at all. Should have perhaps made a few more peasants at the expansion, but it's always hard to tell where do you spend your resources. Despite the fact that you have the expansion, every bit of resource investment is relevant.
I was actually trying to make sense of the late hero, and I was like, okay, maybe he just wants to delay the second hero to surprise with the Panda second and then play with tanks. But no, he actually just forgot about it, or maybe tried to make it when he barely didn't have enough resources and then didn't realize it hadn't started for a while, which obviously at this level, like that's a game-losing mistake. That alone would be really bad. But yeah, then the Archmage got caught down there, wasn't fully healed. I think if you Town Polo with this little hit points, you always should drop down your circlate, use a health potion. You know, it's not very costly. You have Expo, you have plenty of gold to work with. He was just greedy not to, and Chaemiko paid a high price for this.
And if he's ready to defend right there in the main base with the Archmage, maybe he can buy more time, push back those fiends or the statues with the Watch Elementals. It's still not easy. Like, however good or bad the early game goes for the Undead, once you're Tier 3, and it will be the case sooner or later, then it's going to be a strong timing. 50 supply, triple hero, orb. There's always a scary time for the human. They want the game to go longer, even longer than that.
Yeah.
Build a big army, 70, 80 supply, and then possibly try to overrun the opponent with Knights, Gyros, and all that. We've seen it plenty of times, but XlorD finds the timing, despite being forced to stay on his side of the map for a long, long while. And that might be like the best early game map for the human Tidehunters. Like, on other maps, it could be quite a bit more difficult. We see Autumn Leaves, by the way.
Yeah, XlorD showed up very prepared here against the Footmen, like you mentioned it, right? He did his studies from the games that Chaemiko played against Happy, which is almost like a mistake, right? To play like an online tournament, you know, for $100 before there is a 130k tournament, and then like you give special or like specific content for your opponents to study before you play them in the bigger tournaments. And he definitely took note of that. If XlorD is not in position when the Footmen go inside of his main base, it's gonna be a disaster for him. He's gonna have to maybe TP back, run all the way back, maybe lose a couple Acolytes here while he's going towards Tier 3. So to be able to defend that as well as he did, not losing any Acolyte, not really losing anything and forcing TP, that was really key in, I guess, putting him in a good position in this game. And after that, he knew exactly what to do, just went for the main base. And this wall-off with the lumber mill behind the altar, I'm not too sure about that one.
Did that make repairing a bit more difficult for the peasants?
Yeah, because they struggled like going through. There was like very little space. And then like the Rain of Fire was hitting everything too.
And the gyros that were made, they were ready in anticipation for the destroyers, which you have to do because destroyers can be a real threat, but you never know if the Undead's actually going to go for them. You have to be ready for them, but they might just be a big waste of gold in the end, which they were here. What you need is like 65 supply to hold that first push, Pally, Knights, and Militia. And you mentioned earlier, attacking into the main, very smart choice. This is something we've been seeing more and more as of late, especially with the Pit Lord Rain of Fire. You're so good against buildings and repair, going for that altar. Even if you don't prevent the Pally, you will certainly end up killing a ton of peasants, which is going to reduce the effect of Militia.
I think one guard or two would have helped in the main, especially because he made Masonry. Not everybody gets Masonry here, but Chaemiko actually made Masonry at least level 1, I think it was. Which is not the most costly upgrade, but you know, if you get it, you might as well like get some extra towers. It does help out. I think Chaemiko made like very few mistakes here and there. Also, like he was getting +1 for Footmen and Knights. Like perhaps you should make sure you don't die to a tier 3 push before you get this, right? Like, because he needed those resources for something else. Again, it's not the most expensive thing, but let's say he gets neither Masonry here or +1 attack, then he can afford Staff of Sanctuary a lot better. He could have sold the Staff of Teleportation, he didn't need it anymore either at this point.
Yeah.
I think after he rebought Archmage, maybe he was even up. He could have staffed to the shop immediately, sold that, gotten Staff of Sanctuary, waited for Orb, and then maybe tried to defend immediately after.
Yeah, those tier 3 upgrades for the human, absolutely agree, they're huge. Those items, the Staff and the Orb, also the Knights, but it's also razor thin with the timing. And that's where this high-level play all comes to a head. How many seconds do you have? Every second matters. Every move in the early game matters. And despite not too many peasants going down, XlorD makes it work in the end. I was really a big fan, always am, of this Footman run-by style, but the question is also, when do you overcommit? Was that one attack too much? When tier 3 was already finished? Should Chaemiko perhaps just been creeping with an MK? Well, I guess the MK wasn't out yet. But anyways.
Yeah, that was a super delay. He started mount tanking, I think, when Castle was midway.
Yeah, even a little bit later.
That's insane. That's like super, super late. But he didn't have that much lumber. And maybe the second Rax was a little early on the X, but he didn't even tower that fast. I really like the way he played it at first. It's just that from a certain point it started falling apart with the mount tanking not starting. And you know, I talked about the Banshees and I was saying it, we might not even see them. Like if you go for a tier 3 push like this as XlorD, you're very committed to doing a lot of damage, maybe even winning the game at this stage. And usually if you want to go Banshees, that's when you stay on Death Knight Lich and then you creep the whole map, you go double Temple, which we might see here on Northern Eye. Let's get right into it. Starting at the bottom left-hand side of the map. Playing as the yellow human representing South Korea, it's Chaemiko.
And with the 1-0 lead, the German playing for Mousesports is XlorD.
Go ahead, say it, Remo.
Is that Rekordmeister?
Famouse.
Ready, willing, and able. He certainly seemed on map 1. XlorD seems to have completely flipped his strategic outline. No longer Crypt Lord. Once again, it's a Ted Fiend build. So fast DK, delayed. Wait, what is this build? No, it is. Okay, sorry. I just confused myself for a moment.
Up.
I was like, wait a minute, isn't this altar supposed to be finishing faster? No.
By the way, the altar position is like way far out.
Yeah, maybe he wants to do a bit of scouting, maybe slow down the footies a bit. The altar is really normally not important to protect because the human usually never attacks you into the main. If you're getting attacked in the main with a considerable army, you've basically lost already. But yeah, DK once again, so DK Harass will be the play again. And Chaemiko has a couple of different options here to go for this expansion. Of course, he will go for the Expo, but the question is how exactly is he going to do it? There's a lot of different creep route variety options you have on this map, right?
Yeah, I think the Tusker was really popular for some time, but yeah, you don't always have to. If you know that the Undead will creep 1 or 2 camp, you scout with Footman, you see which one is doing, and you see whether you have enough time to do the expansion as second camps. That's why we see XlorD show up with the Acolyte here. He might pull that to like maybe waste a little bit of time from the human player. Yeah, there it is. But he might lose the Acolyte and provide experience. Nice block from Chaemiko. So he was slowed, but he got extra experience for it. And the Purge still goes on the Footman here. So that Watery Mantle will serve its true purpose here to tank a lot of the damage from the creeps.
Nicely done. Chaemiko, he has provided us with quite a few highlights as well, right, of those water elementals with those blocks.
Yeah.
Absolutely known for tremendous surrounds and blocks, specifically in the early game.
Do you think the footman will get surrounded?
No. The Master Surrounder
Watch this.
will not get surrounded, Todd. He's putting in a bit of damage. I love this always against the DK. As mentioned earlier, every bit of damage on the Death Knight matters. Ideally, you don't want to lose the footy, but even if this footy soaks up 2 coils, I think it's worth it, but Still wants to be careful here. It's not expansion second camp right away. He goes over to the other green. Get the level 2 first. And then maybe even take the other green. But then the expansion should certainly come.
Yeah, maybe he's waiting to see where the Death Knight goes next. Like if the Death Knight goes to him, maybe he does the next Murloc camp. No, he's gonna do that anyway. Okay, so he wants to make sure he gets level 3 here after expanding. I mean, assuming he was able to get all crepes, which if the Death Knight is on top of him, it's not gonna be easy, but it might not be. It's like a new thing that Undeads have been doing. You buy the second Rod of Necromancy because he's just back in the shop now, and then you attack with double Rod of Necromancy and just kill a lot of peasants. But yeah, as I say that, yeah, he's actually moving out with 2 charges on that Rod of Necromancy.
Yeah, exactly. Only 2 charges, so his staying power here might be kind of reduced, but he wants to be fast.
Maybe because of the items.
And this could work out perfectly. He bought Circlet, I believe.
Yes,
right,
plus 10. Plus 10, remember?
Bam! Look at that DK swinging a sword. He looks almost as good with that Frostmourne as Remind does. Remind out now. Sag. Sorry about that. The Militia creeping with the Water Elemental solo. The Archmage is trying to keep the DK away. Did a good job of that so far. These last hits are so important. If the DK gets this is a huge deal. Who's gonna get this experience? Coil goes to the DK. He gets the experience. Item picked up by the human. Chaemiko tries with the surround. For once, he fails it. Militia duration is over. The camp is still not finished, but only small creeps left. And another last hit goes to the DK. And the IM still not level 3. It's starting to get a bit scary over here.
Yeah, XlorD went from level 2 to level 2.4 here with those 2 creep steals. He's looking for some peasant snipes here. I don't think that was a deny here, but yeah, Archmage stuck on 2.9, the absolute worst scenario. And he found no additional damage here. It was a Periapt of Vitality, Cloak of Shadows. I guess the Glove of Haves gives him a little bit of extra attack speed. Or he could sell some stuff and try and buy some cloths if they're available, which every time I'm in game is not the case, Remo. It's only rings and crystal balls.
I know. You know, one day your luck is going to change, Todd. I'm sure. There were 2 peasants standing in the former green camp. A misclick by Chaemiko. He sends the peasants back now into the main. This, once again, is not looking super clean for Chaemiko. Would have loved to have a bit of a better early game. Peasants return back to work, boys. This is no vacation. You see, it's raining, it's cold. Who would take vacation here? Like going to Sweden for fun. Not a good idea.
That Archmage needs to get level 3 somehow, and I guess he might just sit there and like you kind of have to protect that expansion anyway, and then when the undead attacks, you kill some skeletons and get level 3. But yeah, how many peasants died exactly? Because that's very important. We should look at the peasant numbers in the main base on lumber of Chaemiko. That's going to tell us a lot. Okay, I think he replenished very well. I see 5 up there, 1 down there. Okay, so he's already got 6. So he's going to be able to tech pretty soon. He's already banked quite a bit of lumber, actually. He's really delaying the tech here to make sure he gets enough lumber. But that's also... I mean, obviously, he's going to have the lumber covered, but the tech timing is so important. We saw it last game. You know, if that attack of XlorD comes 10 seconds later, maybe his life is made a whole lot easier.
Chaemiko just went to the orange camp.
He got 3.
Crept the consumable. He got level 3. All right, yeah, that makes, of course, sense. And now he's getting ready for the counterattack again. Tier 2 starting, defense close to finish. The Lich has popped out and the DK is about to get level 3. The footman count this time does seem quite a bit lower than before, though. 2 footies at least have died in this early game, of course.
DK 2.9. He actually novied the Archmage. Might be worth to just do a small creep here from XlorD, whether at the bottom or even like at the Tusker camp to make sure he gets 3. Pick up a mana potion and then start pressuring again. Just again, the tech of Chaemiko was so delayed, he's not going to have access to health potions. We saw last game how delayed also like the towers were at his expansion. I worry if he does the same here, he's just going to struggle a lot against the Fiend and Statue push that XlorD's going to go for.
We see an early second barracks. Is this rifles?
No, it's Sok started this kind of. Use the barracks as part of the wall at the expansion, and then you get the shop in the safest spot between the main and expo. Because if you make it at the expo, the shops just get sieged, and then you lose it, and then you can't buy orb, you can't buy stuff, you can't replenish. So instead, actually, the wall off is failed a little bit here. Not close enough with the barracks. Like, not the best positioning on that barracks. And blacksmith either.
Oh, Archmage in trouble again. May have to
Yes, of course.
TP out. Oh my god! He tried to cloak! But there was a sentry, I guess. Yep, there's a sentry right there. Oh no.
He had coil anyway. I think he could have just chased, forced TP, and then coiled the Archmage wherever he was. Unless he was at the back of his main base, but then that Archmage is never going to do anything. That has to be an instant revive. You absolutely cannot restart Archmage from the altar here. But the problem with an instant revive is that you come back with 0 mana. I know Brilliance is good, you know, to replenish mana for free, but it's not that fast on level 1.
Painful game once again for Chaemiko. He needs this MK bad. And tier 2 isn't quite finished yet. AM in the back, looking for some damage. Positioning there, I think, was a bit too far forward when he lost the AM. Also, he never went for boots, which can make that positioning a bit easier. And now it's just footies to hold the line, waiting desperately for that tier 2 and MK to finish.
Perhaps the XlorD against Hitman matchup. Hope is out there. The Europe against NA. The rivalry I'll never get bored of, Remo.
Yeah, we've been waiting for that one for a long time. That would be pretty hype for sure. Can XlorD close it out 2-0 already? MK coming, tier 3 as well. And the tower at the expansion about to be all broken.
Yeah, once that tower goes down here, the floodgates are really open. Like, peasants are gonna die left and right. This time, Chaemiko actually started his Mount Tanking before he started Castle. So yes, the Mount Tanking will help once it's there. But the lack of castle for the longest time is going to be a big problem. Destroy Farm is already on the way. Workshops haven't even started yet.
Yeah, if you throw in a Pit Lord here, things will get scary. Archmage does have the potion this time to heal up. MK, how many more seconds? Not much more. Should be there in a moment. XlorD falls back to the middle. Can go for the Pit Lord. Indeed, he does. And this is one of the strengths in the late mid game, I guess, is where we are. Fall back for a moment for the Undead creep. Both camps in the middle and get a lot more experience and items.
Wow, those creeps. Got the deny. Well done, guys. They've picked their sides just like the Murlocs earlier, Remo.
They got more denies than Chaemiko this game.
Alright, Rain of Fire is going to be key. I think you just want to click down on that Arcane Tower, but he's trying to force the human to engage into him. And Chaemiko's been so smart at faking the engagement and then pulling back, but now there is a Destroyer. The one thing that was helping out Chaemiko a lot here was that he had Water Elementals level 2, but now they're going to become worse and worse. They're going to feed experience, they're going to give mana to the Destroyer to kill those footmen even quicker.
Ooh, that Rain of Fire is doing a ton of damage against the peasants. Stormbolt has to be used, and Arcane Tower shots as well, but the GG is called. XlorD with the 2-0 moving on in the upper bracket.